If you want to improve your golf, then you need to improve your shot dispersion, or the tightness of your shot dispersion. Shot dispersion really refers to how wide or how small your shot pattern is with every single club in your bag. The smaller your shot dispersion, the tighter it is, the better golfer you'll be, because you're able to hit the ball to the point that you're actually trying to more often. Conversely, if you're a high handicap golfer, it's part of the reason is your shot dispersion, your shot pattern is too wide, it's too big. So you're not able to really hit the ball to the intended target with any degree of frequency. Today I'm going to discuss how we can improve your shot dispersion using drills that I still use every time I practice, which are fun and engaging. When discussing shot dispersion and shot patterns with my students, I'll typically do it in two ways. I'll first of all refer to the more commonly accepted use of the term shot dispersion, so the left and right version. You either hit the ball too far to the left or you hit the ball too far to the right. And I think when you think about hitting the ball more consistently, generally speaking, that's what you're looking to do. But often overlooked is the short and long version of shot dispersion. And that's really important when it comes to hitting your approach shots with your irons and your wedges. Being able to control the distance you hit the ball, having a good expectation of how far each club is going to go, really will help you to lower your scores. So I'm going to start right there. I'm going to begin with shot pattern, shot dispersion from a short and long point of view, which really comes down to quality of contact, hitting the center of the club face. And there's a great drill you can do if you have access to anything that measures how far your ball flies. Really simple game that you can play on your own, or even more fun is to play it with somebody else. Choose a club in your bag, I've got a 6-iron here, and then choose a distance that you think this club should go. So I'm going to say 180 yards for my 6-iron, and I'm going to hit 5 shots into the screen. You can do this up to 10 shots if you wanted to, and you're going to score how closely you get to your target distance each time you hit. So I'll go ahead and hit one and you'll see what I mean. If I take this first 6-iron and I hit one into the screen, we get a pretty solid contact, nice push draw, and we're going to see the total distance there of 174 yards. So 174 less 180, I've got a difference of 6 yards. So I was 6 yards out there, which is pretty good. I'd be happy with that. Now I'm going to take that score and I'm just going to keep adding the numbers to it for the subsequent shots. So shot number 2 all the way through to shot number 5. And as I say, the real key here to getting this right is centered contact. Hitting the center of the club face as often as you can. The mishits will not fly the distance that you expect. And for those of you struggling to shoot lower scores, you're likely going to be experiencing this problem. Let me hit the second ball. That one was even more out the center, although I did pull it a touch to the left. I think the distance is going to be pretty good there. Okay, 175, so that's 6 plus 5, I'm on 11. So I definitely felt like I hit the center of the face. I just didn't quite control the left and right portion of dispersion, which we'll come to shortly. We'll get to that piece next. But let's just keep getting the distance part as best we can. I think that's the best one of the 3. Started a little more to the right. Still got that typical draw pattern that I would hit with. But again, the distance felt good. There's 182. So 11 plus 2, that's 13. You'll get the idea of how this game works. And for those of you trying this for the first time, you might be shocked to see how hard it is to get to the distance that you're trying to. As I say, it really is this skill of centered club face contact, which many of you do not have, and most of you never ever train. Let me hit these last 2 balls and then I'll show you how to practice for centered contact. I actually hit that one very slightly towards the toe. Very similar type of shot, again, shot pattern. Again, decent, 183. So you can see how close I'm able to get to this number. That's part of what makes me a decent golfer. I wouldn't say I'm a great golfer anymore, but it's certainly part of what still helps me to shoot good scores is my ability to hit pretty close to the center of the club face and ultimately control the distance I hit my ball. If I have an expectation that this club is going to go a particular distance and I can hit it to that distance within reason, then as I say, I'm going to hit the ball closer to the target. Unlike many of you who are trying to actually just hit these clubs as far as you can, which is a nonsensical way to think about it. You've got all these different clubs in your bag. They're designed to go different distances. So instead of thinking about how far can I hit my 6-iron, what's the furthest distance I could hit it, think about trying to go through this exercise and find a swing that helps you to hit this club a consistent distance across 5 or 10 balls, as opposed to hitting one shot that might go 200 yards with a 6-iron, but the others don't even reach 150. The problem you're going to have if that's you is you have no idea what club to pull out on the golf course. You've got no idea how far this thing is going to go. That's what's leading to your inconsistency and to your high scores. So when it comes to improving that skill, let me show you how you can practice that next time you're at the driving range to improve that centered contact. There are different training aids out there to help improve centered contact, or at least to give you feedback. Most of you may have seen the face tape that you can place across your club face, and then when you hit the ball it leaves a mark. Also, foot spray, powdered foot spray sprayed onto the club face will also go ahead and give you great feedback in terms of showing you exactly where you hit the ball on the club face. But in terms of an actual drill you can do at the driving range next time you're hitting balls, take a couple of soft objects. I've got some examples here. You could use a golf glove, place one on the ground like so, and also a head cover would work. You need soft objects that can work, that you can just lay on the floor. And what I'm doing with these soft objects, I could also use a towel if I didn't have these certain things to use, but if I place these soft objects on the ground, I'm really just creating a gate for which to swing my club head through. And that gate, marked by these things on either side, the glove and the head cover, needs to be just a little bit wider than the club face. You'll actually, if you've watched any stuff on social media, you may have seen Tommy Fleetwood doing a similar drill to this, where he creates this training station on the ground and he has to hit these balls with extreme precision. Think about it, best golfers in the world using a similar type of drill to train the precision of their impact. Think about that. If they're doing it, then you should too. This is a really simple drill to set up, and you can go ahead and work on hitting shots immediately. The space you have here for the gate really depends to begin with on your level of skill. So if you find you're struggling to be successful with this, make the gate a little bit wider to start with, but ultimately you'd want to get it down to a point where it isn't much wider. The gate is not much more than a couple of centimeters either side of the club head wider than the club head. You wouldn't want it to be much wider than that, because if it's too wide, you're giving yourself too much of a margin of error. So we've got the drill set up. I've got a head cover on the ground and I've got my glove. Let's go ahead and hit one. You'll see there that I just clipped the glove on my way through. So that shows that that wasn't perfectly centered contact, although it was pretty close to centered. How you set this up also matters, as I say. If you get this too close, if you get these obstacles too close together, then you can make the drill too difficult. But that was first attempt. Let's try another one. Try to get the club through the gate. That one felt pretty good. Right out the center. So my expectation there, just from the feel of that shot before I even see where the ball lands, is that's going to be reasonably close to what I'd expect. 170, came down a little bit. I may have subconsciously swung a little bit slower to try and help me perform this task. So take this to the range or to your simulator if you're fortunate enough to be able to practice indoors. Take this drill, you can even take this to the grass outside in your yard. You don't even need to hit a ball. Set up a gate. Can you swing the club head through that gate? Many of you will be surprised at how poor you are at being able to do this, but that's a good indication that you need to practice and work on this skill. And if you did this every time you practiced and every time you went to the range, I guarantee you your golf would improve. Moving on to the left and right portion of shot dispersion, that really comes down to controlling the club face. And in my experience watching golfers of all different levels, there's no doubt that the better players have better club face control. That makes sense, I think. But how do they control the club face better? What they do is they utilize less violent and volatile wrist action through the ball, particularly into the follow through. If you paid any attention to golf on television, whether that's PGA, LPGA Tour or the Live Tour, you watch the best players in the world look at their follow-throughs, particularly with their approach clubs, their irons and their wedges. Notice how many of them have follow-throughs that are much shorter than you might expect. There's a reason for that. Stopping the follow through and controlling where the club finishes helps to control the club face. So whilst you may have a number of problems, whether you're hitting too much to the right or too much to the left, it could come down to a number of different reasons. Fixing that can be relatively straightforward if you understand where to stop the swing. So if I wanted to help somebody control the direction of their shots more accurately and to do that quickly, I would tell them to hit all of their shots feeling like they're punching the ball out with straight arms, finishing with the arms straight, or at least an intention of finishing with the arms straight. Does a number of wonderful things to the club face. Arm straight controls the radius of the stroke, so it helps you to make good contact. And having the arm straight also tends to help deliver a little bit more of this shaft lean that we'd look for. This would be desirable with getting the hands a little bit forward at impact. Stabilizing the wrists. If the arms are straight, the wrists tend to be much more stable, as opposed to watching golfers flinging the club through impact like so, with an enormously high rate of closure. The volatility of this club face is such that nobody really knows where it's going. So you have to hit 10 or 20 shots to be able to actually get one to go where you want it to. So again, you could do this exercise, the distance exercise that I showed you for the long and short shots, controlling the distance as far as that was concerned. You could do the same exercise here for left and right based on dispersion. How far to the left or to the right of the center line does your ball finish? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit 5 shots utilizing this punch finish where my arms are straight and effectively there's no wrists, no conscious wrist hinge in the follow through. I'm just trying to hit these balls hard with this short finish. I'm going to hit 5 of them, and then I'm going to pull up the screen to see how far offline I was able to keep the balls from traveling. The smaller that number, the closer my dispersion from a left and right point of view, the better I'll have completed this exercise. Okay, I hit my 5 shots. I didn't do great. I've got a very typical pattern. My shot dispersion, my pattern is to draw the ball from right to left, and my overdraw, or my hook, if you like, is the bad one. That's the one that I struggle with on the golf course. Usually this exercise helps me to reduce that, and the first shot I hit there didn't have too much curve, but you'll see that that picture on the screen there of the overdraw is typically what we saw in those 5 balls. Let me just pull up the screen and I can discuss the differences and some of the things that to look for when you're practicing. So the first shot I hit there was probably the best in terms of controlling the direction, and that was what we were trying to do here. We were trying to control the left and right portion of shot dispersion. That ball finished just 10 yards to the right of my target, which wasn't too bad with a 6-iron. The typical shot dispersion, or the PGA Tour average shot dispersion from this distance, is around 30 feet from the hole. So 10 yards, 30 feet, it's pretty much within that PGA Tour average. So I'd be happy with that. And you should be striving to get higher than average proximity to the hole when you practice this relative to your handicap. It should still be higher, because when you're in this controlled environment, you're going to be hitting the balls a little better, a little closer than you would be if you were out on the golf course. So the first one I was relatively happy with. It also flew 178 yards, and something I want to also get you to take from this video is that a shorter follow through does not mean shorter shots. The shots actually went 178, 174, 173, 174. Those ones are more or less my full distance. The one in the middle, the 168, was a poor strike. I did hit it towards the toe, so I lost some distance. But the message there is that you really don't lose any distance by reducing your follow through. That's something that a lot of you do not understand. And as a result of that, you're trying to swing this thing and wrap it around your head to hit it as far as you possibly can, and in the process, losing any semblance of control or predictability. So I'd encourage you to take from this exercise, you do not need to have a full follow through, what you would consider a full follow through, in order to hit the ball correctly and consistently. However, the rest of my balls have tended to overdraw too much. As I say, I do struggle with that typically on the golf course. For me, this shorter finish drill does generally help me to reduce that. but on this occasion I wasn't able to. But the one thing I do know from this exercise, and I do know from the history of doing this over time, is that that is my miss. I will generally miss slightly to the left. And so where that's useful is when I'm on the golf course, I can take that information and build that into my target selection. I'm not always going to aim at the pin, and I'm certainly not going to aim directly at the pin that's cut very tight to the left edge of the green, because my miss is going to miss left, short side myself, and put myself into a lot of trouble. So what I'll find myself doing, and you'll just hear the PGA Tour players talk about this a lot, very seldom are they aiming at the flag, and they're not even just aiming at the center of the green. They're trying to aim their shot pattern, knowing what their tendency is, and building that in to give them a margin of error where they can. So in my example of hitting the ball with too much curve to the left, I'm going to typically pick a target that's a little bit to the right of my intended outcome. And a lot of the time it'll be perfectly safe to hit it dead straight there, but if I do overdraw it or curve it slightly too much towards the target, then I'm actually going to be doing even better. I hope that was helpful, some useful discussion around how to think about shot dispersion, especially introducing the long and the short concept that many of you won't be familiar with. Go to the range, do the target practice with the distances, see how close you can get to hitting your distances with all your clubs, see how close you can keep your ball to the center line from a left and right point of view. Use the gate drill that I showed you, use the arm straight or the punch follow through that I shared with you as well, in order to help you improve the quality of your ball striking and the quality of your club face control. If you're looking for more tips and advice, then you can click on the link in the description here that'll take you to further videos to help you with your golf training.